Brought to you by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Wherever life takes you, Best Western is there. And Coors Light. Whatever your mountain, climb on.
Johnny Manziel has been suspended 4 games by the NFL for substance abuse, as first reported by TMZ and confirmed by ESPN. If he signs with another team, a big if, Manziel would be suspended for the first 4 games of the season and conceivably play Week 5. But Manziel also could face additional discipline under the personal conduct policy for other transgressions, including domestic violence, sources tell ESPN. Now, earlier this week, Manziel said he vows to go sober starting today, July 1st. Will he turn his life around?
And the suspension, to me, is like an afterthought right now. I mean, for Johnny Manziel, you really have to be worried about his life. And I was on First Take, I think it was last fall, probably with you, Freddie, I think, and we had that video of Johnny, it seemed like an innocent video of him walking around his house. He had some sort of bottle in his hand, and he was with his friends. And I said, this is an issue for me. This is a major problem, because when you took everything that he had done up to that point, and it was a cumulative effect, like when they handed him the starting job, and then that bye week he's out in the club, and the DJ booth with the bottles, he has a problem. And people were attacking me on First Take, Johnny Manziel supporters, saying, lay off the guy. He was just shooting video in his house having fun. This was much bigger than that. This was a problem, an epidemic for him. He's got a serious issue. Addiction is a problem, and I get it. It's an illness. But for me, with Johnny Manziel, I'm really afraid of seeing the next headline with him. Johnny Manziel is, in the hospital, something bad happened to him, or worse. It's almost gotten to the point where you never want to see anybody go to jail or anything like that, but he needs structure in his life. He needs somebody to really come in and save him, because you hear all these agents that really tried, family members, what his dad said. Charles Barkley yesterday, I think earlier this week, said he spoke to him when he ran into him at the club and really had a heartfelt conversation with him, saying, listen, you're going down a wrong, dark path here, and I saw what happened to my brother, and you can't mess around with drugs and alcohol. And Johnny still went out and just did Johnny. And for Johnny to just be like, okay, I'm going to go cold turkey on July 1st. First of all, what he's dealing with is so much bigger than that. You can't do it on your own. You need to check yourself into rehab. You need help from people. All his friends are trying to help him, and he's not letting them help him. And that's why I'm worried that the next big thing we're going to talk about Johnny Manziel is like something really, really bad.
Do you really think his friends are trying to help him? I think his friends are enablers in regards to...
I do think most of them are enablers. I think most of them
$7.5 million
I think it has gotten to the point where his friends... I think it's gotten to the point where his friends, a lot of his friends, are really concerned about it. And I do think they are trying to do something as much as they can.
I'm sure there is a fraction of friends who are trying to help him out, and I totally agree with you, Ohm. He needs to get his butt in rehab. He absolutely does. This thing, I'm going to stop on July 1st, that's like me saying, okay, well, I'm going to start my diet today. Yeah, chances. Well, it's 4th of July weekend. Who are you kidding? No way. So, and he does need structure. He needs somebody to get a hold of him and put him in rehab or help him. He's not going to be able to do this by himself. There's just no way. Now, granted, 4-game suspension, I believe that there will be more games to follow, because the personal conduct policy that he violated or allegedly did, I think more will follow. If we're talking about Johnny Manziel in the NFL, we're really talking 2017. Have you really looked at the photographs of this guy?
He's skinny.
He looks like a guy who took a pill in Ibiza and woke up 10 years later. See what I did there?
I did.
Ibiza?
So, thank you. So, I mean, he just doesn't look healthy. There has to be such major concerns for him. And from what I understand, his parents can't even get a hold of him. A lot of times they don't even know where he is. He's trolling his dad on Twitter, because his dad came out and told Josina Anderson that he's worried that he's a druggie. There's just so many factors. It's, for us to sit here and talk about, well, can he have a comeback in 2017? I mean, that could be a topic of conversation. But, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. We as a community, as a society, I think first and foremost, we've got to be concerned about this kid's health.
The people
and hope he doesn't turn into the next
people on Twitter who attacked me after I said that, y'all need to stop enabling Johnny Manziel. Okay? I mean, as his fans, not that he's listening to his fans, okay? He clearly is not even listening to his family or his friends. And even if they have an intervention with him, it's probably not going to work. It's going to take something serious, like I said, for him to go to jail or something like that, for him to get that kind of structure where somebody can just keep an eye on him and really work on changing his life. I mean, you think, like, if you take somebody like John Lucas, who's helped so many athletes, right? I don't know if John Lucas can help him because somebody's got to keep an eye on him all the time because first of all, where is he starting this new I'm going cold turkey? Is he in Cabo? Is he in Hawaii? Where is he doing this? At the club? Like,
Freddie,
he needs to have that structure.
Quiet over there.
I'm just taking it all in because I have two thoughts on this. Both you two make compelling arguments regarding Johnny Manziel and his life. Number one, if Johnny Manziel doesn't care, why should I? I said it last week. If you don't have your best interest at heart, why should we have your best interest at heart? If you don't give a you-know-what about what you're supposed to do, it has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with being a human being. If you don't give a you-know-what about your life, if you don't give a you-know-what about this, then how can you expect me to want to be on your side or want the best for you when it seems like you don't want the best for yourself?
But what if he's battling addiction?
Hold on a second.
Right?
That's point number two. Whatever addiction he's battling, whatever help he needs to get, it starts with the guy that he looks in the mirror every morning on. We can't help, or people can't help Johnny Manziel until he decides to do that for himself. And if he's not going to decide to do that, it doesn't matter what Charles Barkley had to say. Doesn't matter what his dad had to say. Doesn't matter what his enablers, his fans, his supporters have to say. The only one that can start that process is going to be Johnny Manziel. And how much have we heard this before with this guy in the last year or so? Well, I'm going to start over. Well, I'm going to start over. Well, I'm going to start over. At that point, it's Groundhog Day, like the movie with Bill Murray, where it seems like every day with him, it's 5:59. We're all in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and Sonny and Cher's playing on the radio. At a certain point, you have to wake up from that and take control of what you're supposed to be doing. So, Oman and Anita, you guys make compelling points about Johnny Manziel. Let's get to the crux of it in two ways. Number one, if he doesn't give a you-know-what, then why should I? Because this is not my life. I'm not screwing up my life, and I'm not going to allow somebody to do that to me if I can't handle it. Number two, if he can't take control of himself, that's where it starts. All the rehab, all the help, all the advice, that's all well and good. But if Johnny Manziel is not interested in starting over and being a better person, because eventually he's going to realize this. No NFL. I still doubt he's going to be in the NFL ever again. Number two, that money runs out at a certain point where your dad or your parents or somebody else is not going to give you the money to have that lifestyle. Then we'll find out exactly how much he believes that he can do this and be a better human being. Until that happens, it's going to be the same old with this guy. And if he doesn't give a you-know-what, then you know what? I know it sounds cold and callous. I'll raise my hand on that one, but why should I?
It's not that, but it's very hard for somebody who I feel is in deep in addiction as he is, to think that way or feel that way.
Then what is he going to do?
It's hard for him to get out of his own way to do the right thing. So that's what I'm saying. Somebody is going to have to reach out and help this young man.
Enough people have reached out to him. Enough people have reached out to him so he can't do it on his own. Charles Barkley had a conversation with him in Las Vegas. Hours later, he was thrown out of that club for acting like a fool. Charles Barkley has been around the block or two. If you don't pay attention to Charles Barkley, that's not on Barkley. That's on you. Enough people have reached out to Johnny Manziel to get him out of his situation, and he's gone to do whatever he wants to do. What more can people do if he's not going to figure it out for himself, that he needs to take control and has to start with him? I'm not dissing your point, because your point is valid. But we've seen and heard so many different people reach out to this guy, and it's been a brick wall, and it's bounced and gone the other way.
Maybe the right person hasn't reached out. Maybe the right person to connect with him and get him to really think differently has not reached out. I mean, listen, we don't know. We're not in this guy's life.
I look at it. If Charles Barkley, who, like I said, who's seen trouble situations and have put himself in trouble situations, and he tells you, Johnny Manziel, you are screwing up your life. Agents have come and gone with this guy and say, you know what? Off limits. LeBron James is supposed to be a mentor. If you can't look up to that guy and see exactly how it's supposed to be done, and then you go the other way, I'm going by what I've heard and seen with those influences. I don't know about behind the scenes, you're right. But I'm going by the people who have a little bit of worth about themselves have reached out to him, and nothing has come about it positive for him.
Something needs to scare the life out of him. And it's not football. I don't think he's even concerned about, I don't even think he cares. I don't even think he thinks, oh, I'm not playing football again. Fine. You know what I mean? I have my money. I have my party lifestyle. Something needs to scare him into basically turning over a new leaf, whether that would be jail or whether it would be like a life, changing situation. Something has to scare him. Right now, he thinks he's impervious to everything. And that's the problem, and nobody can get to him. So if nobody can get to him, that's why I said I hate to say anybody should go to jail or anything like that, but That's like, he needs that kind of structure. He's not with a football team where he can get the structure from a football team. And when he had it, he clearly wasn't listening to it, right?
It didn't really matter, now did it?
So what is the only thing that's going to help him?
Freddie,
Johnny Manziel is the only thing that's going to help him.
I get your point, Freddie, and I'm huge on personal accountability, responsibility. And we don't have any connection to Johnny Manziel. If that's a family member of yours, how do you help?
Well, honestly, and believe me, I've had more than a couple of relatives that have gotten themselves in trouble situations. And my dad told me something a long time ago. You can't save somebody that does not want to be saved. And my dad has always told me, you say something once. My mom, too. You say something once to somebody and say, hey, this is not the path you should be going down. You give as many examples as you possibly can. But if they're going to have their own mind about doing something, at that point, you can't allow that person's vices or demons to drag you down with them. So we can talk all we want. And believe me, I'm not disrespecting anything you guys have said, because you guys make very good points about, hey, reach out to him. Let him know that, hey, you have some worth and value. But this is all on Johnny Manziel, because so many people, based on what we've read and seen, have done that. If he's not going to pay attention to those people, if he's not going to, whatever accountability his parents completely let go, whatever that is, this is still on him. So if Johnny Manziel was sitting here right now and say, dude, you are a Heisman Trophy winner. You were the biggest sport. When you think about the biggest sports celebrity that we had seen in a long, long time in college football since Tim Tebow. Let's be honest. That's the kind of pull that he had. He was only at Texas A&M for 2 years. It wasn't that long ago that he was here. Now it seems like a minute later he's down here. That's not on anybody else but him. And if he can't figure himself out or figure that out, that, hey, I'm completely throwing away my life, that I had a great life, there's only so much Anita, Carrie, and Freddie, and anybody else can say that he's going to pay attention to.
But he's not thinking he's throwing away his life. You see his last tweet from Cabo? He's out there, he's like this, he's overlooking the ocean, and hashtag watch this comeback.
Right.
And I'm sorry, first of all, there's not going to be a comeback in 2016.
No.
And if there is a comeback in 17, let me tell you something, Johnny Manziel, you need to get yourself into rehab, because it's not going to happen. You can't do it like this.
And it starts with him, and he'll be in the Empire Football League playing for the Marlboro Shamrocks before he's in the NFL, trying to make his way.
Johnny Manziel definitely needs to put it together. Well, it's been a very busy morning when it comes to NBA free agency. So coming up, we're going to talk about all that big money being spent, including on money being spent on some middle of the road type players. What's actually